Okay, hello and welcome again to a new episode of KewCast. I'm John, joined again by my good pal Eddie.
Yeah, double eights today, John.
88. We are getting close. At one point, I calculated when we're going to hit 100. It's February sometime, March or something like that. So
we started January 2 years ago.
Isn't that crazy? That is bananas.
Kerclunk.
What's going on over here? So I'm getting a new slider. I'm getting some comments in the comments section of the videos saying, I can hear your slider going back and forth. It's driving me a little nuts. People have great perception. Some of our listeners and viewers have.
Maybe it's the creakiness in my lower back that they're hearing.
Yeah. All three of us.
Right.
Camera and two of us. Yes, Eddie, we have a good show today. We're going to talk about some paddles. We do have some new paddles of the week this week. And after that, we're going to get into some gear of the week. I don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what I'm talking about, but we each brought in one thing.
We did?
Or did we not? We got one item.
I'll be right back, John.
Right. And then fun fact. Did you bring in a fun fact?
I do have some. It's not so fun, but it's a fact.
Okay.
Well, it's more of a Q&A. We'll discuss it.
Okay, I like it. Mine is not necessarily a fact either, but a life experience that I had.
Awesome.
And then we do have some Q&A, apparently. Let's jump into it, Eddie.
Okay.
Just a few items for latest news and gear gossip today. I did publish on the website the swing weight calculator tool. Did you get a chance to check that out?
I did.
Okay.
Looks good.
What's your experience with it so far?
Just some random samplings here and there, but it looks pretty intuitive.
Pretty close, yeah. Yeah, I mentioned it on last week's pod, and Justin and I kind of traded notes on it. We both figured out that we were each making one independently,
right.
And then it ended up that our formulas that we developed independently from one another did exactly the same job, a really good job of predicting the swing weight based on three variables. So you have your length of the paddle, you have your balance point, which I put up a little video on how to measure balance point at home.
Saw that.
Really
That's
easy.
good.
Yeah. And static weight. Those are the three variables. And once you enter those in, let's try it, Eddie. So if you want to pull up the tool on the website, and I haven't rehearsed these, I just pulled in some recent paddles that I had done static weight, swing weight, twist weight, balance point on, and from these, and length. So from these, we should be able to get an estimate on there and compare it to what the actual graffiti said. So you ready for this? This is a 6-0 coral hybrid without any additional weight or anything.
Okay.
All right, what's just first? Static?
Yep.
8.2 ounces. Balance points next. Is that right? 23.6.
And the length?
And the length is 16.22 inches.
14.5.
All right. So we're 1.5 off. The graffiti gave 113.
Okay.
0.0. Let's try one more.
All right.
Let's go to the enhanced duo. So that's a static weight of 8.1, the Ankh, otherwise known as the Ankh.
Right.
Balance point, 24.1.
And the length?
And length, 16.46.
$117.9.
All right, so we're off by one again. So we're at 119.0 on the swing weight. So yeah, that's what I figured, that most are going to give you plus or minus one, most paddles, and rarely on the extremes, on the far ends of the bell curve, you'll get plus or minus two. So yeah, that's a good way to estimate.
I don't think that my hands are sensitive enough to pick up a 1 point swing weight difference.
Yeah. Certainly mentally, if I know one's 121, the other's 122, I'm going to be like, oh, the 121 is lighter. I don't think I actually know for sure, but
we'll do a blind test one day.
But yeah, so it's a free tool. Go check it out. And, the utility of that tool is that you can, get your stock paddle and then start messing around with weights and, see how that changes your swing weight, without having to have a graffiti.
In the background, did you convert inches to centimeters on the length?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, interesting that we do two different standards.
I thought about doing all metric,
Right.
but nobody's going to know what like a 26 centimeter length is, because everything's reported in inches there. So one of these days, we may eventually go to metric, all metric in the U.S., but not for now.
Well, it's frankly, a good tool for me just to know if my graffiti needs recalibration or not.
Yeah, that's true. And to get that level of accuracy, we did have to weed out some of the ones that were clearly erroneous that we didn't know before. Like sometimes the graffiti is, out of kilter and you don't know it. So that I found some that I had entered before that were in my database that I was like, okay, those need to go because they clearly.
Any recommendations that aren't obvious about doing measurements on fairly customized paddles?
Yeah, so this is one of those things where this is only as good as the data you put in.
Right.
So what I do to get the length on, like you mentioned, on the paddle is I measure it in centimeters and then I convert that to inches because that gives you a decimal in inches. It's really hard to look at the inches and figure out, okay, it's 16.2 or 16.3. You just can't with the normal. So go in, it's really easy to look at the centimeters and be like, all right, that's 22.3 centimeters. You put that into Google and convert it to inches and that'll give you the decimal. So that's really important to get that correct. And it's also really important to get all three of these correct. So your static weight, that's the easiest. You'd have a good scale. And then the balance point, do it a couple times. Make sure you're on that balance point down to 1/10 of a centimeter as well. So the more precise your entry data, the more precise the output.
And for people who may be using a fairly extended butt cap,
yes,
measure it with the butt cap on?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. If you have a Slyce cap on the bottom of your handle, measure, accurately the length of that because that does add a couple of millimeters to the overall length of the paddle.
All right.
Okay.
Very nice.
Did you see that Anley Water started a YouTube channel?
I watched it for a few seconds. I just can't do it. It's too cringy.
Yeah. I mean, I feel for her. She's just starting it and she's got a ton of stuff going on. You can tell she's devoted to this, at least right now. I mean, most pros have their own YouTube channel. It's surprising to me that she only put one up, 3 months ago? She's got 6.2 thousand subscribers right now. So not a ton of subscribers yet, but she's putting up kind of these lifestyle videos right now where she's in the kitchen with Anna Lee, and she's had Anna Bright on her most recent one.
I saw that.
Ben Johns.
I saw a little bit of that.
Her and Anna Bright did chocolate chip cookies, and her and Ben Johns did Ben's spinach dip. And they're in her kitchen, her family's home, and
it's a pretty nice kitchen.
It's a very nice kitchen, Viking stoves and everything. But there's this kind of fun banter, and then she'll ask questions like, hey, Ben, what was your most memorable moment from our time together? And go check it out if you're interested. I actually watched the whole thing with Ben Johns. I couldn't watch, for some reason, that one was fun to watch. Ben is very, charismatic, face-to-face, in the kitchen with Anna Lee. You don't see that side of him on the court very much.
This is true.
Yeah. So.
It's nice that they have a good, close relationship to be able to do that.
Yeah.
I don't see the intersection between the cooking and the pickleball. It's like people watching us we're doing laundry or changing the oil in our cars. That's not really why people are tuned in.
Right.
Although if you want to see that, I guess let us know and we'll work something out.
Yeah, leave some feedback. What do you think if you've seen it? What do you think of these videos? All right. Speaking of paddles, Eddie, let's move on to paddles of the week. Let's jump into the GRUVN paddles first. So GRUVN, I think they're going on pre-sale today or for sure this week sometime. And they plan on launching or mailing them out, I think, on December 30th for the pre-orders that are placed now. So we've got the two paddles here, the Movin 16HD, which is a bit confusing because I'm pretty sure there's been a Movin 16HD before.
Forever,
but this is the full foam paddle. And we've got the other one, which is the Laser 16X. Now, there have been other lasers. I'm not sure if the 16X is new, but regardless, these are both new, I'd say, iterations of their previous full foam paddles. I guess the 16HD, the move-in, is more than an iteration. It's kind of a new line. Okay, let's talk about the move-in 16HD first. By the way, both of these will be $169 before code, so pretty affordable paddles for full foam. I'll give you the stats on this, and then we can talk about how it played. You and I haven't hit together with these, but we both separately hit these paddles. So it is a full foam paddle. Do you have the X-ray? On your notes? Okay. What it looks like to me is a EPP center with not floating in the EVA, but it looks, I'm pretty sure this is just edge foam surrounding it. And honeycomb polypropylene handle, probably to get the weight down. So not the floating cores we're used to seeing, but mostly EPP with the expanding edge foam around the perimeter. It is a hybrid shape, so it comes in at 16.2 by 7.8 inches with a pretty long handle. That seems to be above a 5.5 inch handle.
You can almost get 8 fingers on there.
Right. 8.12 ounces static weight, 116 swing weight, 6.8 twist weight. That's a good twist weight for this paddle shape. I did Q cord test it, as you can see with the chalk markings on the face. Came in at a max of 0.38, which puts it in the all court category. All right, Eddie. What are your thoughts on how it hit?
If it's all court, it's probably on the low end of all court, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it puts it at the high end Q cord, but I agree it plays like a almost a control paddle.
I don't know who this paddle is for. They managed to recreate a Gen 1 paddle with full foam. And
that's crazy. We mentioned that this morning, and both of us said the same thing. It was like, it feels like a Gen 1, but yeah.
There's some magic there, I guess, but not good magic in that it feels very thin. It's high-pitched. The sweet spot's not there for me with this. Power is obviously an issue. I'm not sure what you're gaining with this paddle.
Yeah. I mean, concise, but
and the price isn't, I think there's way better ways to spend $160.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this needs some iteration. There is a foam feel to it. You know, it does have a Gen 1-ish feel. And for some reason, even with that 6.8 twist weight, it does not feel like it has a large sweet spot. It kind of goes to show you that twist weight isn't everything for sweet spot, although it's a lot. Nevertheless, I was having the same feelings on it. It was just, kind of tinny feeling a little bit.
Yeah.
And not the best vibrations, pretty low power, and not the best sweet spot. Definitely a Gen 1-ish feel to this, which is crazy because it's a Gen 4 through and through, right?
Right.
Thermoform's got edge foam and it's full foam.
Full foam.
Right. So, not for me personally. Maybe there's a market for this in terms of people who like their Gen 1 paddle, but they want something that is full foam. Maybe it does feel a little bit different, obviously, from the honeycomb polypropylene. There's a bit of a foamy feel to it, but not your traditional foam paddle feel, though.
John, I wrote a newsletter article a few weeks ago just kind of revisiting Gen 1 to see if what we remember of those paddles was kind of...
That's a good one.
Was it accurate, our recollection? And I could have sworn you gave me the same paddle that you gave me when I wrote that article because it feels very similar. I mean, the handle feels Gen 1. I don't know. It's just not there for me.
Maybe we X-ray it. Maybe the factory is playing a joke on GRUVN. Anyway, I like the idea. I don't think this, at least the unit we have, is executed in the best manner. Maybe it is a dud. That is a thing, right? We got a dud of the Duo from Enhance, sorry. And they sent us another one, and that was much improved. So maybe that's what's going on here.
Yeah, could be.
Okay, let's move on to the Laser 16X. This one is the sandwich core, similar to their older Laser, but apparently the center white foam in that sandwich is a different type of foam. So you got two EVA
So it's
pieces of bread
this way.
Exactly.
Okay.
So two on the outer, the pieces of bread are the EVA, and then the ham in the middle is the white foam. It's still white, but it's apparently a different, stiffer foam.
Not EPP?
It is not EPP.
Okay, interesting.
And it is fully floating, so there is a EVA band surrounding the entire paddle, as you can see from this dissection. And then again, there is honeycomb polypropylene in the handle, and then there is a little bit of edge foam extending from the handle up to the neck of the paddle, but not going all the way around the perimeter. Okay, my...
and Kevlar face?
Yes, I'm pretty sure. Is that it? Yeah, Kevlar.
Okay.
So it is 8.0 ounce static, my unit, 118 swing weight, 6.4 twist weight. It is an elongated paddle, 16.5 by 7.5 inches. Again, a long handle on this. And my Q core score came in at 0.41, so significantly more powerful than that other one. This puts it right in the middle of the high power category.
Okay. I would have guessed a little bit lower than that, but still maybe the high end of the middle tier 2.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go in. Let's see if we have the same thoughts on this one. I'll go first this time, and then like excited to hear your thoughts. So, I did feel the power, but it was a very localized hotspot on it. You know, something about this tri-layer. I felt it also on the previous laser, and now that we have many more full foam paddles in the market, floating ones, you know, I have more to compare it to, and this definitely feels like it has a hotspot now. Sometimes hotspot is associated with a smaller sweet spot, but I don't feel like this necessarily has a smaller sweet spot. It's just that there's one, you know, like golf ball size spot, you know, about 4 inches down from the top, right in the center of the paddle. Yeah, where it comes off really hot, and I'm feeling every point of that Q core is 0.41. So definitely hot right there. And then right after you go outside of that, it drops off pretty steeply. I need to look at that sweet spot curve on this and see if my reality maps up with the reality of the Q core cannon. Nevertheless, it hits okay off that sweet spot, but there's such a big difference between that very powerful spot and the rest of the paddle that it makes it feel like you're getting a smaller sweet spot. Even though the sweet spot, I'd say if you took out that hot spot, there's good responsiveness off center of the paddle. So that threw me off a little bit. I prefer the feel of something with not a tri-layer core at this point, but, you know, again, noble effort from GRUVN. I like kind of where they're going innovation-wise.
Wow, we have some differing opinion on this.
Okay,
one.
good.
So as much as I didn't like the GRUVN, I really enjoyed playing with this one. It's really good. It's a lot of fun. I think for a player who's really committed to full swings, whether they're on dinks or drops or drives, this is a paddle that uses power well in that sense. Not a ton of poppiness. I didn't feel that hot spot that you're talking about. I felt this was very well balanced and even across the face.
Okay.
I felt a bit of softness in that face. That could be the face layer. It could be something about that top layer of that sandwich. But for me, good spin, well balanced paddle. And again, I think for the player who's just enjoying, even on those dinks, taking a full swing at that, nice offering.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Boy, that's very different opinions on this paddle. Now, clearly, I've had a few games of this, so I need more time. But yeah, I definitely felt the hot spot. Normally, we're connected on our impressions of the paddle. So more coming in terms of our impressions of this. But yeah, interesting, Eddie. And no hotspot for you, and you'd put it a little lower on the power category then.
I would say high tier 2 on power.
High tier 2?
The high end of the middle power category.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. And again, if you're basing your judgments based on that hotspot, it's going to feel differently than what I'm getting, right?
Yeah, for sure. Okay. All right. Well, thanks, GRUVN, for sending the new paddles. Like I said, they are on pre-sale this week, and you can take 10% off with code. All right, let's move into the new Spartus. I've been excited to hit this. I've heard about it. It's been in the works for a while. They originally their goal was to produce a U.S. made entirely, made and sourced in the U.S. It is not right now. However,
still have the goal.
Yeah, it is partly made in the U.S. So what they're doing is the core and internals are made in China. And that is shipped over, and everything else, so the edge guard, the grip, and the grit is actually put on here in the U.S. with U.S.-sourced materials. So it's a hybrid, China versus U.S.-made. And, so this is their hybrid shape. This is the Spartus P1 paddle. It's a 16.2-inch long, 7.7-inch wide, 5.3-inch handle, so very similar to like the bread and butter Loco.
Pretty classic dimensions.
Yeah, or maybe a little closer to like the Honolulu J2 shape. Yeah, I think the Loco has slightly longer handle. Grip circumference is 4.25 inches. Comes in right at 8.1 ounces static. Swing weight range of 116 to 119. Average twist weight at right around 6.8. So really good twist weight on that. So this is a Gen 4 paddle. It's a floating core. This X-ray is going to look very familiar. And I was supposed to go in and get my X-rays made this morning, but I didn't have time. So I get them done on Wednesday. But Whiskey Dink put up one. We'll flash on the screen here. So shout out to Whiskey Dink. And this is a very familiar look for a X-ray of a fully floating EPP surrounded by EVA band paddle with a honeycomb polypropylene handle. But what's different about this is the grit. So the texture is, again, it is made and manufactured here in the U.S., and it gives me very much the 6-0 diamond tough grit vibe, but it is made in a different way, and they actually did this in parallel. It's not that Spartus did not copy 6-0. It's that they've been working on this separately. So what it feels like to me is like kind of that concept of a peel ply infused with really hard grit, similar to 6-0s, and not a spray-on grit. So what I was told from owner of Spartus is that the grit, which is called Permagrit, is made of ceramic hybrids. So the grit in there is not diamonds, it's not the unknown Selkirk Infinigrit. It is some kind of ceramic. It is made and applied here in the U.S. By the team, and it's applied via a machine. So humans are involved at 3 points, managing the material compositions, feeding into the machines, and then putting the paddles through the machines, as well as quality checks. But it's machine applied. So beyond that, don't really know exactly, what it is. I imagine it's a very similar concept to like epoxy infused with the ceramic polymer grit.
What's the story on the pinstriping, John?
Ceramic hybrid is what I said. I think this is just a design element.
Decorative.
Yeah, looks to be like a laser etched line, which concerned me a little bit because, I thought maybe if you hit on the lines, the ball's going to slip. I did not get any errant balls into the net on top spin or see any massive difference in spin. It spun great. I feel like it's definitely comparable to raw carbon fiber, maybe a little more. So I'm thinking probably 21 to 2200 range of RPM. I haven't tested this one yet.
I'm curious to see what the testing reveals because this just tactily feels grittier than either the Selkirk or the 6-0.
Yeah, maybe it will exceed my expectations in terms of spin. What are your thoughts on the playability of it, Eddie?
It's a very stiff paddle. The handle's stiff. The face is stiff. It's very spicy in the middle with a lot of pop. And then as you get towards more the edges, it really transforms into a more stiff feeling paddle. So I'm getting trampoline in that, kind of what we described on the last paddle.
What I described,
I'm
right?
getting pop and trampoline in the middle, and the
Interesting.
feel changes dramatically towards the size. That sweet spot is, I would say, average.
Okay.
Nothing crazy in my opinion. Good spin. I'm kind of feeling that grit in the shots, which is nice. And I would say that if you liked Spartus's previous hybrid, was that the Olympus or the Apollo?
I can't remember which one.
I think it was the Olympus. If you like that,
right.
yeah, I'm thinking of Yu-Chen. He was really kind of enamored by the whole look and feel of the previous version. You're going to like this if you like that because it's more of everything as
Right.
far as that goes.
Right. That's so fascinating because to me, this felt so we're having polar opposite thoughts on the GRUVN versus. Are you sure you didn't
Maybe.
switch these up? Because I didn't feel the hot spot on this. I definitely felt it on the GRUVN.
Interesting.
However, and it did not feel stiff off center. This one felt familiar to me in terms of a fully floating full foam core, EVA with exterior with EPP in the center. So you're getting that foamy feel. I'd put it denser and softer than the bread and butter Loco, but not as dense and soft as like the Honolulu J2NF, for example. Somewhere between those two, both in terms of firepower and feel, right? I feel like the firepower, again, I don't have the numbers on this yet, are closer probably to the J2NF than the Loco. So probably on the...
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, probably on the low end of the high power, maybe even high all court. So, and again, this is based on literally 2 games with this. So very preliminary impressions. But yeah, the spin delivered for sure. I was getting good grip both at the kitchen with the flicky type spins as well as the full drive and serve swings for spin to activate that dwell time. Yeah, I mean, it feels familiar to me, and I think this is going to be a solid option if the Duragrit, is that what it's called? Permagrit delivers in terms of its durability like they're anticipating it to. So, the layup on this, which I did not feel at all, maybe this is what you're feeling in terms of your stiffness. It is a CFC layup. So it's a carbon fiber, unidirectional fiberglass carbon fiber on the bottom. So yeah, maybe you're tuning into that fiberglass more than I am. Yeah.
Yep.
To me, like that's a fun thing to talk about, a fun topic about full foam cores. To me, it's really confounding what fiberglass does for different full foam core paddles. Because remember when we compared the J2 NF to the J2 FC Plus, the NF has the notching and it has a layer of fiberglass in the layup. FC Plus, no notching, no fiberglass, all carbon. I felt those were extremely similar. We even did a blind test when we first played with them. Now, since then, I've been able to pick up a little more on the difference. The NF is definitely a little bit stiffer, but those are very, very close still, I would say. Versus the bread and butter Loco with that layer of fiberglass in the center, I feel that fiberglass very prominently on the Loco. And, so that difference between feel and perception of fiberglass being of such a high magnitude between two paddles that use it with the full foam and very similar layout, very similar makeups in the full foam core, leads me to believe that maybe something about full foam paddles is enhancing, the feel of fiberglass on some and not on others. Maybe it's a subjective thing too. Maybe one person to another feeling very different in terms of what that fiberglass does with the paddle. Because to me, the Spartus, I'm not feeling much fiberglass, if any at all. It feels, kind of soft.
I definitely don't on the sweet spot.
Okay. Interesting.
But as you get towards, more erroneous shots,
Okay.
you definitely feel a change in the feedback that's coming back to you.
Okay.
Whereas with other foam paddles, you get a change in outcome, a change in like performance, but the feel is, you can still tell it's a fairly consistent feel.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, fun. I'm going to hit with this more now to see if I can pick up on some of these nuances that you've identified from your play testing. Anything else on the Spartus?
No, next week you can come back and tell me how right I was.
That's possible.
It's never happened before.
All right. Let's move on to the Holbrook. We got, pull down your Fuze. Oh, look at this. They stand up on their own.
Sign of a quality paddle.
Indeed.
Prime for pickleball reviewing.
All right, so we've got 3 shapes and 2 thicknesses on the elongated shape. So elongated, this is a new shape from Holbrook, their hybrid shape with the arrow curve top. And then this is I think it's definitely modified from their older wide body. Remember their older wide body had a short handle. This one has a longer handle. So I think it's kind of the square shape you're used to for the Holbrook wide body, but longer handle. So this is their first entry into the market with the full foam paddle. I'll give you the stats on these first. And, oh, by the way, I forgot to mention the price on the Spartus. Rewind a bit. That's not final yet, but he's thinking coming in around $200 after code. So, yeah, it'll be around that price point. All right, back to the Holbrook. These will be $230 before code. Now we've got, again, the 3 shapes. I'll give you the stats on these. My elongated 16 mil came in at a 7.9 static weight, 118 swing weight, 6.3 twist weight. Q core on that came in at 0.40. So,
Which paddle shape was that, John?
This is the elongated 16 mil, the one you took home most recently.
Okay.
Yeah. So 0.40 Q core, it puts it in the high power category, kind of on the low to mid tier of that category. Hybrid 16 mil came in at 7.87 ounces static, 113 swing weight, 6.4 twist weight, very standard for a hybrid shape. 0.40 Q core, same as the elongated. Those are the only 2 I've Q core tested so far. So we can imagine. Well, I don't know what the 14 mil elongated is going to be, or the wide body. I haven't hit enough with that one, but I've put in a good amount of time with the 16 mil elongated and the hybrid shape to have some good impressions of those. How about you, Eddie? Which ones? You've hit the elongated exclusively.
I just hit the 2 elongated. I didn't have access to the other 2. So it's, I would say these are, frankly, really good paddles. I would say more than other potential manufacturers out there. These are ones that I would want to demo before I bought, because for me there was a big performance difference between the 16 and the 14.
Okay, interesting.
The 14 was very powerful, very responsive, pretty well balanced overall, but I was picking up a bit of a dead zone in the top 25% of the paddle.
Okay.
I'm thinking of the Paddle Tech.
Wow.
As far as a similar comparison to that sort of dead feeling at the top.
Right.
But hit the ball square, and there's quite a bit of responsiveness coming off the face. The 16, maybe a little less power, but definitely more catch and release style with this paddle. A lot more trampoline. I was struggling with launch angle a little bit on the 16 because the ball just felt sticky on the face.
Really?
In a not unpleasant way, but definitely an adjustment in terms of play style and launch angle and just making that adjustment.
Right. Yeah. Interesting. I really enjoy. I haven't hit the 14 mil yet, so I don't know. I can't speak to that dead spot you felt at the top. But the hybrid and the elongated 16 mil, I did enjoy also. They both had the thonk, very deep, bassy sound, which I enjoy. Yep. And the kind of a loudish thonk too, and that initially gave the impression, oh, these are high power paddles, but I didn't. They felt controllable. They're definitely high power paddles, but I put them low on that scale in that category.
I think the 14 is going to have you bump that up a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, and I haven't had with the wide body yet to tell. Regardless, I feel like there's a good sound, an aggressive sound. There's power when you need it, but it's a controllable power, not as poppy for sure as like the Loco. And again, somewhere in between the Loco and the J2 and F in terms of overall firepower. But I enjoyed it. Good sweet spots on these. I forgot to mention in terms of the technology, the way they're making these internally for the cores is very similar to what they were doing for their Armas. But instead of having two densities of honeycomb polypropylene, they're using two densities of EPP foam in the center, surrounded by an EVA band. And it's shaped in the same way. So I do find it interesting that they're using, so if you remember the low density polypropylene on the Armas was up top and the higher density was down below. And they flipped that for the full foam where they have the low density EPP down below and the high density up top. And to reduce kind of the head heaviness from putting that higher density up here, they've created two linear voids along the top, which I think is clever and reduces some of that swing weight too. And all of these come in pretty light in terms of swing weight for the respective shapes. But yeah, I don't know why they went with high density up top versus down at the bottom and put the low density.
Do you think that could explain the feedback that I'm getting as far as dead zone?
Maybe. Or maybe it's the voids. Maybe it's,
could be.
And the 14.
I felt it less on the 16 than I did on the 14.
Okay, but you still felt a little bit.
Yeah.
I didn't pick up on that on 16 or on the hybrid at all. And, I've been using elongated as my main lately, but I think I enjoy this hybrid shape better.
That's nice looking.
It's nice looking, and it just, to me, it performed better. It's got a bit more pop than the 16. Than the elongated. There's just more responsiveness. It's less catch and release and more kind of off the face, a little quicker, that stiffer, hollower feel that I like. In terms of that feel, I definitely put the elongated 16 and in terms of density, so between hollow versus dense, I'd put it kind of in the middle there, maybe more, right in the middle. It's not hollow, it's not dense, it's kind of right in the middle. In terms of stiffness, soft versus stiff, I'd put it on the soft side, right? This one has a little bit more stiffness and a little bit more hollowness. For those of you listening and can't see where I'm pointing right now at the hybrid shape. So that one has a little more hollowness, a little more stiffness than the elongated shape, which is a little softer and right in the middle in terms of its density between dense and hollow. Okay. But yeah, I like the feel. The feel is pleasant. The ball striking feel of these paddles. The sweet spot to me was good. Probably not as good as like the Selkirk Boomstik, Bread and Butter Loco, the elite sweet spot paddles right now, but close. And I didn't feel that dead spot up top. I need to hit the 14 mil, and I need to hit all of them a little more before I can conclusively say. I think you're tuned into the top of the paddles more than I am, Eddie. You generally tend to pick that up more than I do. What else?
What's the price on these, John?
$230 before
Okay.
code. Launching mid-February 2026.
Man, this hybrid looks so good.
Yeah.
The shape of it is.
There's a small tweak, not to anything internally, but just the graphics. So this top band of white is coming off, and this lateral edge is going to go straight up.
Yeah. Looks fantastic.
Yeah.
Great job.
They always do a good job. Subtle graphics on Holbrook's paddles. So, yeah, excited to test these out a little more. Oh. We got the new colorway and
So
the
cool.
Boomstik. This is the Regal colorway. Kind of a subdued gold. They have to pass the USAP reflection standards and UPAA reflection standards. So, I've heard some speculation on whether or not the ball's going to blend in. I've yet to play with this, but
I don't think so.
I don't think anybody's going to complain on the court. Maybe in super bright sunlight, those MOI weights might reflect a little much for some people's taste.
Black, white, and gold. That's so good.
It does look sharp.
I love that.
All right, let's move on to Gear of the Week. So you said you don't have anything this week. Have you thought of anything?
I will say I've been really enjoying those sliders from Slyce. I'm using them all the time now. I'm making adjustments on the fly, and honestly, if you're shopping for a pickleball person and paddle's not on the list, these are right up there, man. Because I've ordered 3 more, different colors, different sizes.
Yep.
I'm just loving it. I only wish that there was a better system in place for making those adjustments, because unscrewing 4 screws every time you want to make a small change is such a pain.
Yeah, why not make it one screw on each?
One screw or just like a pull tab system that locks down in place, because it's a pain.
Yeah, no, that would be nice. All right, my gear this week are my Blumaka Konnect insoles. So I've been using the Foam Lock Max Cushion, which you can get for $60 retail. We do have a code, so Johnkew will get $12 off that, bring it down to $48, which still not cheap for insoles, but I feel like for those and these, they are good. So these Konnect have the same type of foam, same type of anti-slip properties on the top, so your feet are really locked into your shoes, but they've got a little more arch support and a little more kind of support in general. So instead of just being floppy like the ball of the foot, the center, it's not carbon fiber stiff, but there's definitely some much more support there. So overall, of the ones I've tried from Blumaka, these fit my particular foot shape better. I do tend to have not super high arches, but higher. And yeah, they feel great. And I've noticed, the more I'm wearing these, I'm picking up on the fact that they're better for my feet in terms of the consistent pounding you get playing pickleball on hard courts. I've had these issues with my feet with kind of chronic inflammation. I've had to go in last year several times to get cortisone shots in my feet, which was awful because I had so much pain, just from that repeated pounding. And these have been helping. They haven't completely alleviated it, but enough where I'm not having to go back to I don't feel like I need to go back to the doctor anytime soon, the podiatrist. And I'm recovering from this foot injury, so I think they've been helping me along. Something about this particular type of foam is just very absorbing. Before I ever got the code for these, I wanted to try them out, and we tried them out for a couple of weeks, and with good results. And the more I use them, the more I like them. But I wanted to give them an update because people haven't heard me talk about the Konnect insoles. Yeah.
What I love about those, John, is that before these, I'd leave the court and my feet felt fine, but it was my toes that were taking a beating. And the stickiness of these insoles, your feet are just locked in there.
Yeah.
So it's not going to guarantee it, but it definitely helps prevent your foot from sliding forward into the toe and just smashing up against the inside of the shoe.
Yeah, 100%. My middle toes strangely long, and that thing took a beating all the time before I got these insoles. Just, yeah, like you said, you come to a stop and your toes keep moving into the front of your shoe. I'm so disappointed,
So
though.
your feet are kind of like pointed in the middle with your long
Right.
toes sticking out?
Yeah.
That's really weird, John.
It's an evolutionary gap.
You're
goes
a
back to
throwback.
it goes back to my arboreal ancestors.
Right.
I did want to say I'm very disappointed in myself for leaving my stupid shoes after I played in my Neonic backpack, which has the outer shoe pocket. Forgot, left them in there. They're all sweaty. Left them in there all weekend, and I've been alluding to these new socks that I've been using, but I've been using Smart Wool socks exclusively.
Fantastic.
They have a sports sock, which is not hot. It's just as cool as any other sports sock, but it's primarily wool, which is a natural material, and that's completely eliminated any foot odor, right? Which is crazy, right? But yes, you leave your shoes all moist in a sealed compartment, even with a little vent in the bottom. Now my shoes stink, and I've got to wash these insoles. So
So that's what that is.
that's what that is. Sorry, Eddie. It's not a pleasant experience in the studio today.
Too funny.
Let's move on to our next segment. Fun facts. All right, Eddie, drop a knowledge bomb on us today.
So here's a throwback for you. Picture 10-year-old Eddie in 1979.
Okay.
Do you remember S&H green stamps?
No.
Maybe you didn't have. Maybe it was a regional thing.
Okay.
So you'd go to a store, and depending on how much you spent, they'd have these machines. They would dial in kind of like a telephone. So if you spent $100, they'd go to the 100, spin the wheel, and out would come these green stamps. And you'd put them in these. You'd lick them and put them in these like savings books.
Okay.
And then you could go to an S&H green stamp store or shop from their catalog and basically trade in those stamps for whatever.
Love it.
10-year-old Eddie was like infatuated with this racquetball racket that they had in there, not having ever played the sport or seen it, but it was just such a cool looking piece of sports equipment that's how I wanted to spend my S&H green stamp. So
Did you ever save up enough?
I did.
Okay. How many stamps did you need?
I don't remember how many it was. It was probably in the hundreds of stamps. But didn't use the paddle or the racket right away because there was just no place to really play racquetball. But eventually did use it, and it was a lot of fun. It was like a Spalding aluminum racket, if you can picture that.
Yeah. Was this before the power revolution in
This was way
racquetball?
before.
Okay.
Way before.
Yeah. That supposedly destroyed the sport.
So that got me thinking about like what happened to racquetball, because I used to love racquetball. I had the latest Ectalon rackets, which were crazy powerful, and you hit somebody in the back of the head with that thing and match was
Lights
over,
out. Right.
which is highly likely.
You
in
mean with the
racquetball.
ball after it hits the racket?
Well, no, not really.
Eddie, you're vicious.
So, John, I Googled, like, what happened to racquetball? Like, why did it die? Because it's gone pretty much, right? I mean, you could still, like, find these niche gyms
Yeah.
that have it, but for the most part, it's dead, right? So I Googled, like, why did racquetball die? And I came up with a list of things. I wanted to run them by you to see if you see, like, a future for pickleball in any of these.
Okay. The parallels.
Yeah. So the first was lack of media coverage. Racquetball failed to really get on major sports television.
Okay.
There wasn't ESPN back then, so it had to, be one of the big three in terms of sports coverage.
Right.
What about pickleball? I mean, it doesn't seem like pickleball. I mean, occasionally we get on ESPN too. Cable television, and
CBS
streaming.
occasionally.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, they're definitely not as much as people had hoped for mainstream coverage.
Yeah, and that means not just exposure, but advertising revenue and everything that goes along with that too. So that's one reason for racquetball's decline. The second was really gym profitability. You just couldn't get enough people paying for and using courts.
Right.
And the amount of space it took up was enormous.
Yeah.
Of course, we have tons of gyms sprouting up all over.
Yeah.
We'll have to explore a little bit as to how profitable they are as businesses, right?
I mean, I see pickleball is definitely cheaper to build courts than it is, the enclosed racquetball courts. However, you can only play racquetball in those enclosed courts versus pickleball. You can go buy a $100 net and stick it anywhere, basically, or go to free public ones, right? So,
Yep. Yeah, but still the space requirement for pickleball, even though it's much less than, say, tennis or even racquetball, is still pretty enormous.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
Right? Number 3, increased difficulty. The game, racquetball, became much faster and more powerful over time, making it less accessible to the average athlete or intimidating for those people coming into the sport.
Right.
That's definitely plays a
Huge.
factor.
Yeah.
Right?
I think we're at the point right now even where new people who come onto a court and watch advanced players are going to be like, ooh, that looks pretty scary. You know?
Absolutely. The next point, lack of a developmental pipeline. Racquetball never really built a junior or a collegiate space for development. Pickleball?
Yeah. We're not there yet.
Right.
I feel like we're coming along, though. There are some universities that are investing millions of dollars into pickleball facilities and coaches and programs. Yeah, so I don't feel like that was the case for racquetball ever, you know.
Right. But still at the entree point here for pickleball. And lastly, poor management. Some believe the governing bodies of racquetball didn't adequately promote the sport. They were so focused on like the Olympics, but kind of forgot about grassroots development. And so they kind of lost opportunity there to continue to grow racquetball just because of focus in other areas. Your thoughts on, is that applicable to pickleball?
Yeah.
And frankly, competition between governing bodies.
Yeah. Yeah, I think these are all good cautionary tales for pickleball, but I feel like all of them have been on the radar of, people who influence pickleball for a while now. You know, Ben Johns has been talking about the parallels with racquetball in terms of controlling power for a good while now. And that's why, UPAA as well as USAP have invested so much into, and if we're not there yet in terms of controlling power to the degree that we want to be, but we're much better off than we were a couple of years ago. And to circle back to the point I made earlier, like it's probably a little scary for people coming into a pickleball facility to see advanced players play. I think that needed to happen a little bit, for it to become a respected professional sport. However, it's not. The point I was making there is not that we shouldn't have this much power. I feel like we're at a good spot right now. It's that it's not as accessible as it once was, when it was just 4 years ago, when it was like, oh, anybody could look at people playing pickleball and be like, I could be really good at that.
Right.
Even if I'm 86 years old, right?
Yep.
Anyhow, but yeah, good comparisons, good.
Yeah, I just read that list. I'm like, wow, we are either facing these challenges now or will be in the very near future.
Yeah.
As we continue to grow.
For sure. I did attend a kind of a roundtable discussion of people in the Denver-Fort Worth area. Right. Denver-Fort Worth.
That's a very big area, John.
That was an old, the Denver Boulder area. But regardless, like Cal Yates was there and a bunch of people. And these were all talking points that we discussed, particularly the grassroots things. Like, how do we get like a pipeline for parents to want to get their kids into pickleball starting in grade school through high school? And that's not going to happen until the collegiate sport blossoms and there's a path to get scholarships, right? So that's one thing to put your kids into something that's kind of fun. It's another thing that, hey, if this helps them get into college, that's a huge incentive. So I think that chain from grade school up through high school into college is what needs to happen to really get that grassroots.
Great points.
Yeah.
Good
stuff, Eddie. All right. I went a totally different direction on my fun facts. And this is more of a life lesson thing, but I wanted to tell a story about one of my early travels to Athens, Greece. I was probably in my late 20s, and I was doing my archaeology thing, in grad school, and went to, I think I was in Israel for a while, and I came back through Greece just to travel. And I was on a bus in downtown Athens, a public bus. And this bus driver was like raging. Like he was having a bad day or he was just a jerk all the time. I don't know. But he was like flying around in this bus in the middle of town, like coming right up on people in front of him and honking at everybody, just really super aggressive, jerky driving. And we went on this one-way street, and everybody in Athens drives these tiny little cars. There's a guy and there's no parking in Athens, right? But this guy in the little car in front of us found a little parking place on the side of the street in between two other cars. And he pulled up to parallel park, put on his blinker, and this bus driver blasted up on this guy, slammed on his brakes inches from his bumper, and just started blasting his horn. So he couldn't parallel park anymore, right? I was just like, this bus driver is over the top. But to this day, I look back to the reaction and response of that guy in the little car with admiration, because what he did, instead of like most of us, myself included, probably would have like flipped off the bus driver and took off and like resented this bus driver for the rest of her life, right? But he just put on his hazard lights, stepped out of his car, kind of stretched, left his car on the road, and we couldn't get around it because we were on a one-way street, walked into the shop that he was going to, bought a pack of cigarettes, stepped out, lit a cigarette, and just looked at the bus driver, super calm. He wasn't angry, just like had half of a cigarette. The bus driver's freaking out, blasting his horn, and eventually he just resigned to the fact that this guy had leverage and he didn't, right? And then he got back in his car and left. And to this day, I was like, that kind of grace under pressure is admirable, right? And I try to kind of, it's just a lesson, right? When you're under pressure, kind of keep a clear head, and that'll open up options. You know, you may have leverage, and we can bring this back to any life lesson, pickleball even. Like if you feel like you're down in a match or a game and you feel like there's just no way you're going to win, if you're calm about it and you keep a clear head, then certain opportunities are going to present themselves that you're not going to see if you let yourself get flustered, right? Because calm is basically a force multiplier. But yeah, that basically the quiet mind helps you kind of spot the loose threads.
I love that, John. GNF, give no.
Yeah. This guy, man, he was such a stud to be able to it's like, I was nervous for the guy because the bus driver was so aggressive. It had such a big bus, big horn, and the guy just handled it flawlessly. It was great.
Well, some of that is just like remaining calm in the moment, and part of that is just such extreme confidence, right?
Right.
Just massive.
Yeah.
Man's fears.
Yeah. And if, for that guy's sake, he had to be worried, like, are all the people on the bus angry? But all the people on the bus were like angry at the bus driver because they knew he was being a jerk.
You're
right?
one of them, right?
Yeah, exactly. So good stuff. All right, shall we?
Love it.
Let's move on to Q&A.
Yeah, I got a bunch here from last week's episode, so let's dive in, shall we? This one from Corvillage1. Great, as always. A suggestion, you could include your preferred shapes with each of your picks on the leaderboard, which we can do. Do you remember your leaderboard, John? And can you assign a shape to your top 5?
Okay, so Selkirk Boomstik still at top for me. I'm playing with the elongated in that. I've got the Luz Inferno at number 2. That's also only an elongated. So my third was the Coral, 6-0 Coral. On that one, definitely actually I'm split between the wide body and the hybrid. I'm leaning towards the hybrid right now, but the wide body I haven't hit enough, and I had a good time with it last time I hit with it. 4 was the bread and butter Loco. Definitely the hybrid on that, although I haven't hit as much with the wide body. So again, I'm just between those two. And then the 5th one was the Gearbox GX2 Power. Mm-hmm. Definitely the hybrid all day on that one for me. The elongated is a little too long and skinny for my taste, and the hybrid is the Goldilocks of those shapes. How about you, Eddie?
So my number 1 was the 6-0 Coral. I've been rocking I guess it's an elongated, right?
Yeah.
I did recently purchase the wide body, so looking forward to getting that and playing around with it. Number 2 was the bread and butter Loco, the wide body there. Number 3, Vatic VSOL Pro is also the long handle flash shape. Yeah. But I've been recently really enjoying the Bloom, the long handle Bloom.
Okay.
Different feel, more bouncy, but yeah, loving that as well. Huge sweet spot on that. Luz Inferno, one shape fits all, the elongated. And then the J6NF, also elongated.
Yeah, it's interesting that both you and I are not married to one particular shape. You know, we go from all the way from elongated down to wide body.
Yep. So there you go.
I think most people are locked into shapes more than we are.
Okay, Kev. Really wanted to get a Boomstik, but everyone I've talked to had to replace it with warranty. Seems crazy the quality of this paddle just doesn't match the price.
Yeah.
Not a question, but
No, that's a valid observation. The most common issue with them is the edge guards coming loose, particularly under the MOI weights, which makes sense. You got a bunch of weight on the edge guard; it's going to cause more stress.
That's a great point.
However, Selkirk, definitely should have figured this out before going to production on this. And when I dissected mine, I remember saying, like, mine didn't come loose before I dissected it, but it was super easy to take those edge guards off, and that was a concern for me on the review. I've also seen reports of the edge cracking in parallel to the edge guards, right? So the face of the paddle cracking, and I think that's also related to the MOI weights. I just think the MOI weights in a great way enhance the performance of the paddle, but similar to what we've seen in the past in terms of durability concerns with high-performance paddles, it seems to be breaking the paddles as well, and I don't think it's entirely fixed yet. So definitely a concern. The flip side of that is I did warranty one without telling Selkirk. I just sent it in through the typical warranty process, and I got a brand new one in 3 days, and I was able to hold on to my old one until I got the new one. So a very, very nice system they have for customer service there. So.
And to just add to the sample size, now at 2, both my boomsticks are just fine. No issues.
Okay.
All right. EDM 203. Always loved these podcasts. Very informative. For the next podcast, can there be a discussion about playing outside with foam paddles when temps are cold?
I like that one.
Yes.
I did not see that. To be determined in terms of what happens to full foam paddles in the cold. But yes, it certainly will affect the feel and performance of them, and maybe even we'll find some new durability concerns of full foam paddles as opposed to the heat of the summer when I was doing the sun exposure tests, and some of them were desponding, right? So what may happen that we can't really imagine yet when you're playing in 40-degree and lower temperatures. When the foam is stiffer, it's definitely going to play stiffer. You're definitely not going to get as much dwell time, and it's going to change many characteristics of the paddles. Can you think of anything else, Eddie?
I can report that those actually hold true in the limited circumstances that I've played outdoors. I've been on Lifetime on the roof a couple times. It's cold. It's windy up there, probably in the low 40s. I was up there with the Charm and the V-Sole, and they both felt very hard, very unforgiving. There's still kind of the things that you like about those paddles that are inherent regardless of the temperature, but it definitely does change with temperature.
I wonder if it changes more or equal to honeycomb polypropylene, right? Because those change too, for sure. But my hunch is that full foam will be impacted more by temperature changes than honeycomb polypropylene.
We'll look at that more.
Yeah.
Here's another one from I Am Husband 809. I like that. 2 parts to this one, but let's just skip to the punchline here. Had the FC Plus, and while it was great at times, I lost a lot of hand battles due to the ball dying slightly on counters and hitting the top of the net, and sometimes resets. I couldn't feel the ball either pop up or hit into the top of the net. I felt confused 50% of the time and amazing the other 50% of the time. Such a weird paddle. Any other reports of that on the FC Plus?
No, I haven't heard that. I would love to know what he was playing with before, what he switched to.
Well, that's the first part of this.
Okay.
The 11624 Vapor Power is what led me to the Loco with slightly better pop and power, and he says he's played his best pickleball with those paddles.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
All right. That makes sense then, because the 11624 Vapor Power is a stiff paddle with fiberglass in the layup, and you definitely get that immediate response to the ball coming off the face. With the 11624 and the Honolulu FC Plus is kind of the opposite end of the spectrum of that. Right. Instead of being stiff and I'd put the density of the 11624 kind of in between hollow and dense. Instead of having that stiff, hollowish feel, it has a denser, soft feel. So more of a catch and release. And that I'm sure that probably threw off his game a little bit. So if he likes kind of that connected feel to the paddle, a stiffer feel, the fiberglass feel, then certainly the Loco is a better choice for him in particular. I've made a new graphic now. I have a new asset for my videos. I spent a lot of time on it yesterday, probably more than I should, but it's kind of a paddle feel map. And it has on each side of the spectrum on the y-axis, imagine a big 2 arrows going up and down the middle, 2 arrows going horizontally in the center. So it's stiff on top, soft down below. That's one spectrum. The other spectrum is dense on the left and hollow on the right. And you can, arrange your paddles in that XY area according to how they feel. So, again.
Interesting. I put flexy and I guess loose and whippy on the other side.
Well, whippy is more to do with like frame flex, right?
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, just in terms of like the feel of the ball coming off the face.
Okay.
Those quadrants are enough to kind of pinpoint with pretty good accuracy.
It's nice to have that terminology. Let's put that up on the screen so people can kind of visualize that.
Good stuff. So that's coming in future reviews too.
I like it. Okay, Rick Ezzy, 7753. We were talking about the survey from, what was the name of the firm that did that with the DUPR information?
Sports, I forget.
Yep. I don't know where this data comes from, but I cannot believe, and we had so many comments about this, but I cannot believe that Honolulu Pickleball is not on the list. I see them on all the courts I play on in South Carolina, and there's numerous comments about Honolulu, Vatic, 11624. People just can't believe that some of the other brands that did make it on the list are showing up more often.
Yeah,
and we said the same thing.
That was what you and I were constantly saying as we're looking at these data. It is a big sample size, 1,100 something people through DUPR. What I didn't read or they didn't explain is how they derived the sample, if it was weighted regionally, if they took a great interest in getting a very representative sample of the U.S. population. I don't know, but maybe there was some sample bias in terms of, it's too focused on the Florida region, which would explain like the diadem and engage, or I don't know. But yeah, super weird that the other category, which I think was like 2.7%, which encapsulated all the biggest paddles that paddle reviewers talk about. Right. And I do see a lot of them in the wild on the courts also.
Ty Stroud, 4155, had a great response to that comment. So I fit your description as well. I've not seen a lot of these, but I've seen a lot of more enthusiast brands. I think they went to a beginner park and took the poll.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like retirement community, maybe.
That's hilarious. Wayne Hayes, F4X. I would be interested in seeing a survey that breaks down the percentages between the paddle shapes.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be cool.
Could do that. Like, what's your favorite paddle shape?
Yeah. Do you have a feel, John, for like what you see out there as the most prevalent paddle shapes?
Yeah.
I feel like I see elongated most.
Yeah. Let's give our predictions on the breakdown, Eddie. So between elongated, hybrid, and wide body. So I'd say, again, depending on the accuracy of the sample size, if we're taking a broad sample across the U.S., definitely elongated is the most popular, followed by hybrid, followed by wide body, and I put the percentages probably 75% elongated. Ooh. Yeah, and then split a little bit the way the hybrid maybe a little bit more than the wide body.
Yeah, I think we're close. I would have said 50% elongated, 30% hybrid, 20% wide body.
Okay. All right. But if we polled our listeners, we would get a much better breakdown between those three shapes. Yeah.
I think you're right. Mob Syndicate 1389. What are the square lines drawn on the Loco for behind Eddie? Remember it had that grid on it?
Yeah.
I
think I put it back. So I think I explained it last week, but there was some data we were collecting for the paddle lab that I'm building, similar to Braden, Pickleball Effect Braden's paddle lab, where he has an image of a paddle and you can take weight, pods or tape at different densities and move it around on the edge of the paddle, and it'll show you how it changes the static weight, swing weight, and twist weight and balance point. So we had hundreds of entries with several different paddles of all different shapes, and hoping to run a multivariate analysis of all those data and do the same thing that Braden's doing, basically. So there you go.
Very cool. One more question, John. This one from I Am Dave. Do you think the grit degradation that the Loco has is because of the crazy grit peaks that it comes with getting shaved off by the ball, causing the peaks to turn flat, making people think it's smooth, but in general it's still gritty and can still bite?
Yes to the first part of that, and not unsure on the second part. Meaning, yes, definitely the sharp peaks are chipping off, and they become very gritty. And you're going to notice the degradation more with extremely gritty paddles than ones that start more subdued. So yes, the peaks of those epoxy peaks and valleys are chipping off, and the second part of that is it's still getting bite, even though, I mean, that's relative, right? Eventually, your peel ply is going to not get as much bite as you want. So whatever your tolerance is for spin degradation, let's say we know where it starts, right around 2,200-ish. I'm spoiled, obviously, but I don't like mine to dip for my spin test much below 2,000 RPM. I used to be like around the 1,800 tolerance, but I start feeling it around 2,000 RPM, and I'm not getting the dip on the ball that I want, so I need to replace the paddle after that. If you have a much better tolerance in terms of your spin degradation, you're willing to go down to like 1,600, then yeah, that's going to have a bite for a good while longer. So hopefully that answered the question.
It does. For me, it depends a little bit. I think dwell time plays a big part in spin generation, so you might see a degradation in grit, but the drop-off in spin may not be as dramatic as what you're seeing just on the surface level.
Yeah. We still need to do that experiment that I think it was Music Lover was the username in YouTube that recommended we put these pickle skins on all different kinds of paddles, and that kind of equalizes that variable, and you're holding that variable constant, and you're able to just test whether or not dwell affects spin. So I'd love to see, like, does fiberglass in a layup, other things being equal, decrease the dwell time? Because the ball, what it feels like when you have fiberglass in a layup is the ball is not as dwelly, it comes off quicker,
right,
which is appealing to a lot of people, not everybody, but does that necessarily translate into less dwell time? I feel like that Loco still has good dwell time, but it still has that pop. Same with the Selkirk Boomstik. Really good dwell on that, but you're not necessarily feeling it. The sensation you're getting is high pop, and the ball is immediately off. You're feeling very connected to the ball. But I have a feeling that our perception of dwell time doesn't necessarily correlate with what we're going to see if we did a controlled experiment on that.
Well, let's find out, shall we?
One of these days.
Right now.
We both have time, all the time in the world, right?
Right. Great.
Good stuff, Eddie. Good questions.
John.
Thanks for pulling those out. And
yeah, you betcha.
Good show today.
Do it again next week.
Sounds good. Good, sir. Have a good week.